When talking about the best teams in NFL history, the 1972 and 1973 Miami Dolphins always get brought up. And with that, the offensive backs like Larry Zonka and Mercury Morris get brought up for the record that they broke, becoming the first ever running back duo to rush for 1,000 yards each. And on the bench of that team sat Jim Kiick, the third man in that backfield. And as a 20-year-old 1960s and 70s football aficionado, I always have a soft spot for Jim Kiick. And in this video, I guess I'll talk about why. In 1968, 2 years after expansion, the Miami Dolphins drafted Jim Kiick in the 5th round. And him, alongside with the rookie Larry Zonka, made an impact, both of them leading the team in rushing yards. And Kiick also contributed with 422 receiving yards. Between 1968 and 1971, Jim Kiick made 2 Pro Bowls and put up good rushing stats and receiving yardage alongside Larry Zonka. Jim Kiick and Zonka were real popular in Miami, and to add on to the aura that they had, both of them became really good friends, and eventually they were given the nickname Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid, in reference to a movie or a show. I don't know much about that. This is about Jim Kiick, so they were labeled that because the media reported them as wanted men due to basically everyone in the Miami area, like fans, children, reporters, wanting to see them, get their autograph, interview them, get their photos. So the both of them were always on the run and also causing trouble. Like Don Shula absolutely despised Jim Kiick because Jim Kiick was always going out partying, getting into trouble, and just doing a bunch of random stuff. They put an alligator in Don Shula's freaking locker room. Either way, in 1971, under the leadership of Don Shula, the Dolphins made the Super Bowl. And in celebration, the team went out partying all week in New Orleans. And I'm not going to say this was the main cause, but they ended up losing 24-3. And yeah, that speaks for itself. The third running back, Mercury Morris, was very, very disappointed in not getting any playing time in Super Bowl 6. And later that offseason, Mercury Morris ended up taking Jim Kiick's spot in the starting lineup. And Jim Kiick was benched. Don Shula didn't want to bench him, but he believed he had a better running back. So Jim Kiick he was just there. With his playing time being gashed and sitting on the bench most of the season, he still managed to put up some production, though he never was able to run for more than 81 yards in a single game in 1972. But he did manage 2 touchdowns in a Week 4 game against the Jets. Other than that, he didn't have any other, notable performances in the regular season, but in the playoffs, this man completely locked in. In the AFC Championship, this man had an incredible run to give the Dolphins a lead against Pittsburgh, who were coming off of the freaking immaculate reception, so they had momentum on their side. And Jim Kiick's touchdown helped Miami get the lead and eventually take the game to get to Super Bowl 7 against Washington. And in Super Bowl 7, despite Gary Apremian's horrible play, it was a really, really close game. Jim Kiick's touchdown in Super Bowl 7 was very important because Miami ended up winning 14-7. Jim Kiick, despite being a third-string running back, was vital to the undefeated 1972 Miami Dolphins. He only scored 5 touchdowns in the regular season and ran for about 500 yards, but in the playoffs, his play was absolutely crucial to the team. But sadly, in 1973, his playing time was cut even more. He only scored 1 touchdown all year, and that was in Super Bowl 8 against the Vikings in the 24-7 win. So he didn't even score a touchdown in the regular season. So that's unfortunate. And after really not doing anything yet again in 1974, he ended up getting signed to the Memphis Southmen of the World Football League. That's a story for another video, but him, Larry Zonka, and wide receiver Paul Warfield were all signed to a multi-million-dollar deal to leave Miami and to join them in the WFL. And I mean, players were not paid a lot of money back then, so it was honestly a pretty good deal for them. But the league ended up folding in 1976, and that's another story. But that's for another day, yet again. And in 1976, Jim Kiick found himself in Denver, but he only had 100 yards rushing all season. I mean, at least he was able to see his buddy Zonka, who ended up finding himself in New York as a Giant. But shortly after, in 1977, he ended up getting traded or picked up. I haven't really looked into it. He ended up joining the Redskins with George Allen, but his career was essentially over after 1977, never finding another spot on any roster. And you could say that he had a disappointing career, but to even make the NFL is an accomplishment, and to help a team succeed in the only undefeated season in NFL history, that ain't bad at all. Zonka and Kiick went their separate ways after the NFL, but remained really good friends until Jim Kiick sadly passed away in June of 2020 at the age of 73. And hopefully with this video, at least one more person can remember this obscure player from the long history of pro football. And to me, I mean, I guess I'm the first person to ever dress up as Jim Kiick, so that's something. Thanks for watching, and have a wonderful day, and please go outside.